Hello, and welcome to The Biker and the Witch. I'm Dr. Sunshine, the biker psychologist.
And I am Foxglove the Witch.
It's Sunday night, and we are coming to you from our living room uh, for a psychosocial, psychospiritual,
Slipknot?
little slip knot,
Little Slipknot.
psychospiritual tarot reading today. You can see we have, as usual, we have our altar set up. Got a nice little altar today with some bleeding candles. I don't know if you guys can see that, but
Yeah, eventually this one will melt enough where he starts bleeding out his eyes.
yeah, so
And so will Baphomet over there.
yeah, so we've got, let me see if I can see what I'm showing you here. So the white candle and the black candles bleed red. That skull will bleed out his eyes, and Baphomet will bleed out his eyes. And we've got a little skull with a rose back there and a pumpkin. We've got some candles and some plants. And love our little living space.
Yeah.
We've got Aleister Crowley.
Yeah. Alistair. Say hello.
There he is, Aleister
Say
Crowley.
hello.
And Bella's over there
In
watching.
her spot.
And I think what we've decided we're going to do today is we are going to ask the cards and the universe what we need to do to communicate more effectively. Because earlier today, Foxglove and I had a difficult conversation, which is part of a pattern for us. We have, I think, by anybody's estimation, a really amazing relationship, and we get along great and crazy in love and for years now, and do all kinds of things together, and we share each other's best friends. But there's a certain type of conversation that tends to go off the rails. Foxglove tends to get very sensitive and feelings hurt at like any conversation that's about how to do things differently or how we can improve or make things better. She gets the feeling very criticized. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And
especially when it comes to things like doing things different and
parenting,
talking,
running the house,
about
things
how
like that.
I did it wrong in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tend not to, that doesn't bother me at all. Like if I did it wrong in the past and I can figure out how to do it better now, I don't get sensitive about that at all. I'm totally okay with that 99% of the time. However, I get sensitive when I'm trying to be helpful and I feel like I'm trying to be on her team and I'm trying to be constructive about what we can do better. And I'm even trying to say it gently because I know she's sensitive and she gets upset anyway. I get this story in my mind about how even though I'm trying really hard to be the good guy, I'm being seen as the villain or the bad guy or the guy who hurt her feelings or upset her. And that tends to shut me down. I get very like frustrated by that and um, feel very defensive, try to defend that. No, I was trying to be. So anyway, those conversations, we end up arguing for hours over nothing.
Over absolutely nothing. And then in the end, we basically say, we agree with each other.
Yeah.
We don't even know how we got to this point.
Right.
I will say that everything was great. We went to Costco to get Halloween candy. Shit went off the rails. We forgot about the shit when we ran into the Reminders, which is a amazing hip hop group, husband and wife from Colorado.
From Colorado Springs, they live in our town.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. Go look at them on YouTube.
Yeah, check them out. They are amazing. They have opened for Erykah Badu, for Black Star, for Charlie Tuna, and they do a ton of local stuff too. Amazing.
Yeah, so we saw them at Costco today.
Yeah, so we got pictures with them.
We'll post it.
And then we walked away, and then it resumed. Like it never, like the Reminders never happened.
I didn't say we don't have priorities. I just said we get.
I know it was like car. Yeah. Game on.
Game on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask the cards in the universe to help us with where should we focus? What should we be looking at in order to communicate better? Because this is really the only like hiccup in an otherwise perfect relationship.
Yeah, and we've definitely made progress on it.
Yeah,
it happens much less often, but it's just still.
And we get past it quicker. It used to be days. Now it's hours.
It used to be, yeah. It used to get really ugly. But yeah, now we get over it pretty quick. But I would like to
Yeah.
get to the point where it just doesn't
Yeah. To me,
happen
it just
at
feels
all.
unnecessary, right?
Right,
Like, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. But there's something that we're stuck on.
Yeah.
So,
So we each have a glass of wine, as always.
yeah. Mhm. All right. Mm. So today, Oracle that we're going to start with, this was a awesome gift for one of our really close friends. He's family. He's our brother. Road name Fang. So he bought these for me, and they are amazing. Now, these I definitely have to read out of the book because they really just have pictures. They don't even have words on them. But something about these cards, I thought maybe
Okay.
these would give us a good answer. So,
I learned my lesson from last time. I have my reading glasses in case we need them.
okay, there we go. You can hear Aleister Crowley chomping on his toy in the background. That's what all those mouth sounds are. All right, here we go.
That's cool.
I know they're awesome cards. They are so. I mean, it's all skeletons and skulls, and that's the card on the bottom. Some of them are pretty abstract, so that's why.
That looks like the cover of an old Journey album.
It does. The one with the spaceship.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they all had that little beetle
Okay.
spaceship on it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not thinking of
Don't
Journey,
stop
or I'm thinking of Boston.
believing. Well, Boston had a spaceship on it
Okay,
too.
that might
Journey
be
had a spaceship that looked kind of like a beetle. It was like a. Yeah.
okay. Um. All right. We are card number 8, and let's see. 8 is light. The first world of emanations comes to an end with this card. This card represents the entrance point through which creation can manifest itself into the world. It encompasses potential and purity without limitations of shape, capability, or capable of illuminating and feeding anything it comes into contact with, like a sun with generosity and vitality. Okay. Advice from the dead. A source of pure energy feeds and lights your journey. Proceed in your projects without hesitation. Any shadow will be dispelled.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, that makes me feel hopeful, I think,
Well,
because
yeah.
we both have shadow stuff
Mm-hmm.
around getting sensitive about these conversations.
And maybe the whole point, the bringing light to those will
Right.
help us better understand each other and why we
And
react.
ourselves, right? I
Yeah.
mean, ultimately, like, I think in these conversations, at least for me, there's a lot of like feeling like I understand you, but
Mm-hmm.
begging to be understood by you.
Right. Right. And I do. I fall short with, like you said, not being very, um, what's the word? Empathetic.
Yeah, empathic or
Yeah.
empathetic. Yeah.
With that part, I still tend to be like, well, this is how I feel. And I have a hard time stopping
Right. So,
still to be outside of it. It comes later.
yeah.
But I still
Yeah.
don't catch myself in the
Right.
moment.
But I feel like if I had more light on whatever's in the shadow there for me,
Mm-hmm.
that need, like, it, don't get me wrong, it's nice to be heard by your partner. Like, I would
Well,
want
yeah.
that anyway.
Yeah.
But I think I could be more patient with it. Like, I wouldn't have that immediate need to be like, no, hear what I'm saying. Like, hear what I'm,
Right.
and I could maybe put that aside
Mm-hmm.
and hear you first. And then maybe as you felt heard, you could start to hear me more, you know?
Right. And maybe bringing the light to why I'm so sensitive and I get my feelings hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And I take everything as criticism when it's not.
Right.
And I'm at the point to where I can say, I know this is not what you're saying,
Right.
but
But
this
that's
is what
how
I
I feel
heard.
anyway.
And
Yeah.
then that starts the
Yep.
hamster wheel.
Yep.
And it's like I'm trying to also, which is working on explaining myself better. Like I get stuck on how to explain to you the way my brain's
Right.
working. I'm not saying this is what you meant, but this is what my brain is telling me. And I just dig the hole deeper and
Right.
deeper and
Right.
deeper.
Well, I think part of it, yeah, and I think I'm getting the sense that part of it is like I don't understand why it's so important for you to explain that to me. Like once you've gotten around to like, oh, what I'm hearing is not really what he's saying, then what difference does it make if I know what you heard or not? Like,
Right.
right? Like let's,
Right.
I'm a let's move on kind of guy. Like let's get to what's constructive.
Right. And I'm sorry I upset you or we got mad. I
Right.
think it's really that whole like I hate people being upset with me.
Right.
That's still
Right.
something that needs to go. It's better, but still
Yeah.
clinging on.
Yeah.
All right. So the card on the bottom, that really cool beetle spaceship thing,
It's
it's
a skull, but it
yeah,
looks like a beetle
yeah,
spaceship. Yeah.
it's masculine. The first active, dynamic, and creative impulse that emerges from the darkness. This second card is no less than the fundamental force of the universe. The first push towards the outside, a channel of passage, both stimulating and vital. The desire to become and to evolve. This desire, however, cannot be satisfied because the energy, much like fuel outside the combustion chamber, is not yet structured, disciplined, and stable. Hmm. Advice of the dead. Your abilities are at their peak, but you need to focus better on your objectives, perhaps asking for advice from a masculine or parental figure.
I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know why that's there. But
Mm.
what's jumping out to me is that the last two readings we did um, pulled distinctly feminine cards,
Mm.
right? There was a goddess and there was a queen of wands, queen of pentacles, something.
Uh, Queen of Pentacles was in one of them.
Right. But we've had two readings where we've pulled specifically feminine cards,
Energies, yeah.
energies. And this one is a flat, I mean, it's called masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So, if nothing else, before we deal with tarot cards, I'm thinking maybe we need to approach this problem with a different energy than
Mm.
we approach some of the other things in our life.
Well, also
Alistair,
feminine
welcome.
energy is very much emotional and feelings and
Right.
everything, where masculine is very
Yeah.
much about thinking with your head
Right.
and not so much emotion being involved with it.
Mm.
So maybe that's both telling us like we need to bring light to this and stop addressing everything from a feminine, very emotional
Yeah.
perspective
Right.
and start bringing in our masculine sides of being logical and thinking with
Mm.
our brain and backing more off, not completely from emotions, but just so they're not right there at the forefront. So, and it makes definite
Yeah.
sense to me.
Well, I'm getting something maybe else. I'd like to see what the other cards say,
Okay.
but what I'm getting is for me, because we have different roles in this conversation pattern too.
Yeah.
But my role, part of my role, is I really want to be able to say things to you in a way that you can hear them
Mm-hmm.
and not get all upset.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I do think that on the one hand, you have some responsibility in trying to hear what it is
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying.
Right.
But I also don't have a problem like trying to say it in a way that helps you hear it. I don't
Right.
mind saying it. But I get very hung up. Like the part that really upsets me in these conversations is I get really hung up on the fact that I'm trying so hard to say things in a way you can hear them and you are still upset.
Right.
And I just don't know what to do. And I think the masculine energy there is like, listen, I tried. Like this is the ball's in your court now. Like,
Right. No, I
you
agree.
know,
I agree. And I get frustrated because one, I can't even explain accurately and in the words to get you to understand or to express how I feel.
right.
And the more I try, the more confusing it gets and the more frustrated I get because it's confusing. And honestly, I don't know if I know all of it well enough to
Yeah.
even be able to tell you how to do it different.
Right.
I don't know if I'm at a point where I completely understand all of it. I know there's definitely little pieces that I've been like, aha,
Right.
you know. Um, but yeah, definitely not all of it. All right. The tarot we're going to use tonight is from the site. There's a store, Killstar. It's an amazing store. Go online, look them up. They have the coolest occult, witchy purses, tarot decks, home decorations, clothes. We have a ton of clothes. Nope. I was going to say we have several T-shirts.
Yeah, I'm repping Baka tonight.
Yeah. So, all right, cards. Help us better.
We were out yesterday empowering children.
It was an amazing day. Amazing day. All right, here we go.
Alistair.
No, sir.
Not yours.
All right. Here we go. First card out. Knight of Wands.
Those are cool.
I know they're amazing cards. Five of Wands.
Well, wands and wands.
Yes. I can already. And the Sun.
No, that's the middle card, huh?
The Fool.
We get that one a lot.
We do. King of Swords.
Swords and wands.
Bottom of the deck.
Knights and kings. Lots of masculine energy. Tree of life.
Yeah, and 10 of Pentacles. We
Yeah.
get 10 of Pentacles a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look underneath that card in a minute. All right, so Knights are all about action. It's all about taking this thing that you learned as a page, this inspiration, this excitement, this giddy kitty feeling that you have about something, and putting it into action. Wands are all about your passions, your interest. I mean, they could be passions towards like your partner, or passion towards a job or an interest. So
that's what wands are, passion.
Yes, it's all about your passion.
Knights
your
are
interest.
action.
Okay. And then we have the Five of Wands. This Five of Wands is all about like disputes. The Five of Wands is all about, get this, confusion, miscommunication, these struggles and unnecessary things that you go through, battling with each other. Which that's what I kind of laughed about whenever it came out. Like that makes so much sense. Yeah. The Sun Major Arcana card is the happiest, greatest card in the deck. It's all about your desires being filled, complete, total happiness, accomplishments, like pride. It's there. The Fool, another Major Arcana card, is all about new beginnings, taking that leap of faith, jumping out there, taking that chance, that risk to start a new journey and do things differently, to do things again, to learn new things. And then what was that?
King of Swords.
King of Swords. Kings are all about mastering things. They've mastered what their suit stands for. So the sword stands for like intellect, your thoughts.
And that goes with that masculine card.
Exactly. Yeah. Very much. And if any cards out of the whole, like the kings and queens, the king and queen of swords are the no shit, don't take shit. We're not beating around the bush. We don't sugarcoat shit. This is how it is. If you don't like it, walk, because this is our boundary and we will not allow you to cross our boundary. It's knowing how you think. It's having your thoughts under control. So with the Knights, like putting to action, take action. This passion, I guess, like for each other, our passion for each other, our love for each other, like putting that more into the things to help us see and communicate. Like maybe when we're having that argument, to stop and think about how much we love each other, which he always says, I love you. I want you to hear that. Like, I love you. So I need to be better with that. But maybe stopping that and really taking a breath and maybe bringing to light how we're both feeling in that moment. And thinking about it logically, like trying to think about it with our minds and not our emotion and our heart. and trying to put it into words that way. And it's like taking this, and avoid these strives, these silly miscommunications and chaos and confusion that ensues, from when we jump right into our emotions. And that is going to be the accomplishment. That's going to be the happiness. And I'll tell you, a lot of the sun is a horse and a child. Like this one has two skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We have our skeletons everywhere, our love skeletons. We have,
In our house.
yeah, the skeleton lovers,
Yep.
both tattooed. So I don't know. Like this could be like the accomplishment. Like boom, like this can help us. And if you think bringing the light, the sun, and it mentioned the sun, like doing this, avoiding this because we've stopped and really thought about how much we love each other, and to bring light to how we're feeling in the moment, and that is our feelings and not how we're thinking. Because I'll tell you, like, this is how it hits me, but I know that's not what you're saying.
Right.
But we're
But
really
you always go
acting
with how it hits you and not
right
with what you know.
initially. And that's the thing, like
Right.
bringing that to light, and reminding myself that he would never say that. He would never criticize me like that or say anything like that, because he loves me. And I need to stop and think about that.
Yeah.
This passion and this love that we have for each other, and taking that break and that pause to bring light to it, to think with my mind, is going to help us avoid this unnecessary strife.
Mm.
And it's going to bring light to the situation and harmony. Like this is going to help us with that accomplishment that we're both looking for. And that will bring us to a new journey, like this new journey in this relationship where we're bringing light to our thoughts and our emotions and how those are different, and being open with those. And it's going to be a better communication. Like that's where the improvement in our communication comes from. And it really comes down to the thoughts, like our mind, like telling each other what we're thinking, and then removing the emotions, this knee jerk reaction we have to our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those emotions are things that are from the past.
Okay. And so the 10 of Pentagrams?
The 10 of Pentagrams, 10 of Pentagrams are all about that major accomplishment, this money, finances, like boom, like it's, you can look at it as like an inheritance, generational wealth. This is stuff that's got you set for life.
Mm.
It is tangible things. It's a earth energy. And I can put it in this way. Like you look at the 8 of Pentacles, it's all about hard work. This is about work, like your career, work, things you work towards. I'm going to say, because this is all about what we need to work on. Like if we do all this and we work hard on these two, and taking this break and thinking about these emotions to avoid this chaos, this is going to get us to our accomplishment. This is going to get it. That hard work is going to get us. Like this is our goal. This is what we're working on. This will get us there.
So I'm getting something different, and I think that what you described sounds probably like the journey for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the journey for me is different.
Okay.
And I hope I describe what I'm getting well,
Okay.
because I'm concerned that it might sound harsh.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want it to. I love you and I want to do what's best for us. But as you know, I am also a big proponent of like tough love. And I think sometimes loving somebody enough to be truthful or authentic or real, and allowing them to be unhappy with you for that, is more a demonstration of love than doing whatever it takes to keep them happy.
That is true. And
Right.
in that sense, you are very much the King of Swords in that way.
So I'm going based on the interpretation you've told me of this 5-card spread, where the middle card is kind of where we are now, and the two cards ahead sort of preceded, came
No.
before it.
So this is what, yeah. This is the outcome, like
Right.
where we want to be.
Yeah.
This is what's kind of leading up to it, and this is like
And the two after
right.
would come after. So when you talk about the passion, the Knight of Wands, and the action toward the passion,
Hmm.
not that I don't have incredible passion toward you and for our relationship,
Hmm.
but the other thing is, I come from a household where there was a lot of verbal,
Hmm.
emotional, and physical violence.
Right.
And when I got old enough to move out of that house, and when I got married, even when I got divorced, but as a parent, as a partner, um, I have a real passion for trying to, um, I think I still have a pretty traditionally masculine
Mm-hmm.
personality. Um, I think I'm like masculine, traditionally masculine things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Motorcycles and weightlifting and
Mm-hmm.
um, whatever. But I was very passionate and still am very passionate about figuring out how to be a different type of man
Mm-hmm.
and a different type of partner and a different type of father,
Right.
and trying to figure out and actively um, be somebody who interacts with his family with love and with compassion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a theme for me in past relationships too, and I hate that shit from past relationships is creeping into this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really motivated to try to fix that. But I have a tendency sometimes, I'm trying so hard to not lose my temper, to not yell, to not
Mm-hmm.
use my size or my voice or threatening words or scary volume or language to get my way through force.
Mm-hmm.
I try really hard not to do that. I try to express myself calmly and verbally and use feeling words and use I statements. But sometimes I think it can be okay to put your foot down and establish a boundary,
Oh yeah,
right? I think
absolutely.
sometimes, but I tend not to do that
Mm-hmm.
with you. And I've tended not to do that with partners in the past. And what ends up happening is I become an enabler.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I think that my willingness to say things in the right way so you won't get upset, or to try to adjust my tone of voice or adjust my words or try to do it in the way that you can hear it,
Yeah.
and prevents you from getting over this sensitivity you have. I think it
Mm-hmm.
enables you to keep being really sensitive when you think there's criticism, because I'm so motivated to try to fix it, to do it differently.
Right.
And that's been a theme for me in the past in my life. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I see is like the passion toward being the kind of man who doesn't use
Mm-hmm.
force and aggression to get his way,
Right.
leads sometimes to me being an enabler. And that's part of what creates this chaos and this difficulty in our conversations, right? I
Mm-hmm.
actually think we might have less difficulty over time if, instead of trying so hard to figure out how to say the thing so you can hear it right, I would just deal with my own issue and get comfortable with the fact that you might be unhappy with me for an afternoon, or you might not like the way I said a thing, but listen, I tried. And if you want to be reasonable, I'll try more, but I'm not going to kill myself to keep saying things different ways until I hit it right when none of them hit right.
Right.
Right. And that's me. Like, I have to stop being an enabler. Being an enabler is not helping you. It didn't help past partners, and it's not helping me.
Right.
Right. And we have this amazing, the sun, like we have everything else in this relationship. We have so much love and so much passion and so much everything, like physical attraction and emotional safety and
Mm-hmm.
common interests and things we love to do together, and silliness and fun and, you know, teamwork and all the things you could want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the light, if the light shines on it, I need to I need to learn how to set a boundary and enforce a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I need to do it harshly or
Well, yeah.
meanly, or like I don't need to
No.
do it aggressively, But the masculine energy means to me that I need to do it and not waver,
Right.
right? I need to be like, here's a point for me to set a boundary. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I said this thing, right? That's the King of Wands.
Mm-hmm.
I said
The
this
King of
thing,
Swords.
or King of Swords, rather. Sorry. Yeah. I said this thing. You heard this other thing, but it's not what I said. So I'm
Right.
sorry you heard it, but here's my boundary.
Right.
Like, you can catch up to me. If you can catch up to me, and I don't know if that's the right phrase, but like, here's what I said. You heard something else. I'm sorry that you heard something else. But if you can get yourself up to where it's like, oh, yeah, I heard what you said, then we can continue. But
Right.
until such time
Mm-hmm.
that like you can get there, we don't need to keep fighting. I don't need to keep picking. I need to like manage my own emotional reaction to that. I need to just breathe through that. But then kind of the boundary is that the ball's in your court.
Mm-hmm.
If you can reasonably come back to me and say, hey, this thing you said was honestly hurtful and I wish you had said it differently or whatever, then okay, I'll make an adjustment. But if it's just that I said a thing, if I just said something about how we could improve our parenting, improve how we run the house, improve, and you heard criticism and got all upset by
Mm-hmm.
that, I think the full part is I need to experiment with being new,
Mm.
being a beginner at setting that boundary.
Scary leap.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the scary leap is setting that boundary and letting you be unhappy with it
Mm-hmm.
until you can get to the point where you're like, all right, I'm through my emotional upset
Mm-hmm.
now and I can communicate better.
Right. And like I told you, actually, right before we started this reading, that my emotional reactions and me
Yeah.
getting my feelings hurt and what I hear versus what you said, that's my shit.
Yeah.
That's for me to
Right.
handle and figure
Right.
out. That's not yours.
Right.
That's my shit.
Right. And I'm so worried all the time about being the monster or the bad guy or the
Because of your childhood.
right that I will immediately try to adjust or change or say it in the way you can hear
Right.
it. And at the moment, like there's a part of me that's like, oh, what's the big deal? So I say it differently. But the big deal is that it's keeping us stuck
Mm.
in this problem
Well, it's
because,
keeping you stuck
well, it's
in
keeping
that
me
place
stuck.
and keeping me
Yes.
stuck from just
Yeah.
addressing my emotions and clearing that shit
Yeah.
out and coming back and being like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, because it goes off the rails with both of us.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, um, so
I think so. And I think like I've been learning this lesson in increments through my entire adult life. But the lesson is that like if I grew up with a model for how I didn't want to do things,
mm,
I grew up with a model where you did things through intimidation and force and violence.
yeah,
Um, the right answer in my life is not always the exact opposite of that,
right,
right? Like because the model that I'm trying not to follow was, you know, very confrontational and very
violent,
aggressive and very violent. That doesn't mean that I have to approach everything as a doormat, as a pushover, right? As a
right,
totally gentle soul. I think the next lesson for me needs to be, and I started it in a past relationship and I need to keep working on it, is like how sometimes it's okay to be forceful, not forceful in the sense of violent or aggressive, but it's okay to set my boundary
mm,
and enforce it and not budge from it.
yeah, it's actually healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like you said. It
Right.
doesn't have to be harsh
Yes.
or hurtful. Like there is ways to
Right.
go about it
Right.
that's not like that,
Right.
but
And
still,
the unfortunate thing for me, the thing I have to shed light on right, this light card,
mm,
and get past is there's a tendency in my past relationships that as soon as I attempt to set, like, you know, past partners, like the theme of my relationships is past partners love me, I'm the best, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, I'm so amazing. And then as soon as I like get to a point where I'm like, okay, I've let whatever behavior tendency go far enough, I need to set a boundary around this. I'm not happy about this and I need it to change.
mm,
Then all of a sudden they tell everyone they know that I'm abusive. And I'm so afraid of people thinking I'm abusive
You do not want to be anything close to your
Yeah.
what you grew up with.
Yeah. And so I'm so afraid, and I fit a profile, right, of an abusive, like I'm a big, older, able-bodied, tattooed, guy who, like, I mean, it's not hard for people to think I'm abusive. It's harder for people to think I'm gentle, right?
Your everyday resting bitch face.
Yeah, that's where I got my name, Sunshine, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm so afraid of people believing that I then like bend over backward, and that's where I end up enabling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enabling and essentially it's abusing yourself.
Yeah.
It's not self-care and
No.
at all.
Nope.
Self-love, self-worth,
Yeah.
when it comes into play, like
Yeah.
to
And it doesn't get me what I want either. What I really want, like in that conversation we had earlier, like
mhm.
I kept saying to you about this particular thing we're talking about, like, I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this. And what you kept hearing is that I'm worried that you're not going to do what you need to do.
Right.
And that wasn't what I was saying. I'm just saying I'm worried about this thing. I'm worried about it. And I was like begging basically for you to be like, okay, I hear that you're worried. Like, I can validate that. And maybe I'm worried too, or I
Right.
understand that your concern is real, or like, and I end up not getting that anyway, right?
Right.
And so maybe I need to like learn to live without that. If I get it, it's great, but if I don't, like, I
Right.
still stick to my guns.
But
And
still, that validation and everything like that, I mean, you deserve that.
well, I
That's
get,
something I need to work
I
on.
think everyone deserves it, but nobody gets it 100% of the
Well,
time, right? And
no,
so my
nobody does,
right,
but I definitely
right,
that's something that I
right,
need um
yeah,
to work on and
yeah,
take my emotions out of the
yeah,
situation
right,
and
right.
bring in that more
Well, yeah, and if
thinking mind over my emotions.
yeah, and if we both work on our stuff, we'll both get better at it.
Mhm.
But my point is, whether it's with you or anybody else, like, yes, it's fine to want to be validated, and it's fine to ask for validation,
Mhm.
but I have to be strong enough, masculine enough, that if I'm in a situation where I don't get that validation, whether that's from you or anybody else,
Right.
that it can't change my whole course of action. It can't deter me from all of my growth and the things I'm working on. I just have to set the boundary and say, I
Mm,
guess I have to live without this validation, or learn to self validate, right? Learn to
right.
tell myself that, like, okay, my worry is real and legitimate, even if you're not validating that, even if you're
Right.
not seeing it, and stick to my guns about that boundary and not enable the pattern to persist.
Mm.
You know?
And it always breaks my heart whenever you start talking about like you're a monster and everything. It absolutely rips me apart. And I always tell you like, no,
I
like
know.
I try to make you,
Right,
get you to see or at least put those words out
right,
there of who I see.
right.
Like this is
Yep.
who
And
I see.
I that's an area where I have a hard time, because it's like, how can you hear so much criticism and so much, like, putting you down in everything I say, or in so
Hmm.
many things, not everything, but in so many things I say? How can you hear so much of that and not think I'm a monster, and not,
Right.
right, like,
Which
not think I'm the villain or the bad guy?
yeah, and I see that. And I mean and I don't know. Like for you to go through what you've gone through and to work so hard and become the person who you are, which is such a far cry from the examples that you were given growing up. I mean, it's the complete opposite of a villain or a monster. And I can see I don't know where I would be if I went through the same experiences. And I can see how in your mind there's that child that's still there that heard that repeatedly, and has a hard time not believing what they were told constantly. But that was his shit. That was his anger. That was his whatever that he put on a child. And it was so fucked up, you know.
Mm.
But I understand too that, that's a lot to unpack and put down and walk away from.
Yeah, and like you said, I've come a long way with it. I've done a lot of work, but there's these areas where it keeps creeping up. And at
Mm,
first, when it creeps up, I don't recognize that it's related to that until we
right.
dig into it like this.
Well, just like we were talking about the other day,
Yeah.
things that are so obvious to you. Like,
Yeah.
how do you not see that? It was something that not that I probably couldn't see it, but it's something I wouldn't allow myself to see.
So Foxglove is talking about a reading we did on October 15th. So you can watch that one if you'd like, the video from October 15th, where we both kind of didn't get a whole lot from the reading, but toward the end, I kind of got something from it and she didn't.
Mm,
And what you guys didn't see, we should have posted a supplemental video, but what you guys didn't see was that she sort of ended that reading saying, well, maybe it was that reading was for me and that's why I got something out of it and she didn't.
mm,
But then later that week something happened like she was talking about, and I was like, oh my god, this is just like the reading and this is exactly the situation. And we eventually, I think we agreed that maybe that reading really was more for you, but
mm.
you couldn't see it because it was stuff that was in the shadows, right? It was
Right.
in your shadows. And I was able to see it because I know you and I love you and it made sense to me. But it
Mm,
all came together like a couple of days later.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
And it was,
noticing, oh,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
And a lot of it was stuff that, I didn't want to see. Not that I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow myself to see it because of who it involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm noticing that some of these cards have in the lower right corner, I guess those are zodiac signs,
hmm
but some of them have Hebrew letters.
yes,
So a little
tarot.
another tie
Yeah.
into the Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
It's
tarot
a tree of
cards.
life.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of tarot cards have that because astrology is heavily
Yeah.
into the tarot and the Kabbalah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very much.
Okay.
So, is there anything that we want to clarify? I kind of feel like I just want to get like if the tarot will spit out like a final tarot message.
Okay.
Um, these cards are my Halloween cards. I don't know exactly what they're called. What are they called, babe?
These are called the Halloween Tarot.
Oh, okay. I got these years ago around Halloween. I got them the same time I got the Halloween Oracle. I don't think I've ever used them.
Oh, well, it's high time.
So let's see what they're going to say.
I'm wondering if we should do an extra reading next week on Tuesday since it's Samhain.
Yeah,
All right.
I agree. And our 23-year-old comes home. He's
Yes.
moving home from
Yeah.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. So
Yeah.
we are very excited about
Yep.
that.
We are.
All right, now I'm going to see if there's some jumpers, which they jumped right off.
Oh, we got a queen. And we got some imps,
Yeah.
which is good because
So
we got a house full of
we
imps.
do. We have so many imps. God, children, dogs. Okay, so the Queen of Pumpkins, pumpkins in this deck are pentacles.
Okay.
Imps in this deck is wands.
Mm.
So the Queen of Pentacles is all she's queens are like embracing, like
Mm-hmm.
they are the epitome of the meaning of that suit. She is nurturing. She is a mother figure. She is somebody, it's all about self love, nurturing yourself, like loving yourself, you know? I mean, she also has everything that she needs, like material needs and everything like that. And she's a very comfortable in that uh, aspect of her material goods. And she's that great homemaker, that great mother, that great cook. She is somebody who is just nurturing and taking care of everybody. Eight of Wands is all about action, like fast coming change, like something that's coming in super fast. On the bottom of the deck is the High Priestess. Major Arcana, the High Priestess is all about the keeper of secrets. Okay. She guards that veil that's between our world and the other world. So, but she's also all knowing. She's that all knowing person, but just because she knows it doesn't mean she's going to tell you. She also keeps secrets. It's not something that we're always meant to see at that moment. It may be something that we will see eventually, um, when we get to the point, when we learn, when we get the knowledge,
Mm.
and get to the point where we can see beyond that veil, where it will be revealed to us. So in everything with this reading towards you, nurture yourself.
Yeah, you know what I got from this one?
Mm.
From this queen. You're going to have to tell me again what the Eight of Imps was. I was a little distracted.
Wands. They're all about fast action, like something coming in fast. It
Mm-hmm.
could be about travel too, but it's all about something coming in really fast.
I'm not sure what that one's saying to me. But so this whole reading, this whole interpretation, I've been talking about sort of the model for masculinity that I had and wanting to do things different,
Yeah.
and about having the having the you know, the model of violence and aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And that Queen of Pumpkins, as you described her, made me think of my mom.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Hmm. And so I don't remember my mom very much. I remember a tiny little bit, but she died when I was 7. Um, you obviously have never met my mom, but you have met her identical twin sister, my aunt, who lives
Mm-hmm.
about 40 minutes from here. And we spend time with my aunt, who's her identical Swiss sister. Everything I know about my mom, even though I don't really remember, is very much how you described the Queen of Pumpkins.
Mm.
And what's interesting to me is that we had 1, 2, 3 cards in this reading that were distinctly masculine
Mm.
and none that were distinctly feminine until this clarification.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because even the sun is masculine, the
right,
moon is feminine.
right.
So that sun
And so, oh, so
energy,
4 cards, yeah.
yeah.
So I think one of the things that I forget sometimes or that I lose sight of, I'm so worried about becoming what was modeled for me
Mm.
that I forget that I'm an extension of her as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything that was good about her and nurturing and loving and that caregiver is all in you.
You know?
And that comes through in the father that you are and the partner that you are.
Mm.
I think that your emotions in that child
Alistair,
so caught up in that and what
come
you
on,
heard and what you saw and what you were
hey,
told and what you went through
don't get into trouble.
that overshadows you seeing
Mm.
this in you.
Yeah,
You know, that I mean it's an amazing side. And what I see in this too is like embracing that,
yeah,
realizing it, bringing light to that, can bring in this fast
yeah,
change.
maybe, yeah,
Can change the way that you see things, the way you
yeah.
feel about yourself, everything. And that
Oh,
maybe that was what you needed to see. Maybe
okay,
that's what you needed to learn to
yeah,
unveil and get to that other side, this inner knowing. And the high priestess is a very feminine card,
yeah, yeah. I figured
you know,
with the
and
moon under her, and
right. And
yeah,
if you look at it too, woman, feminine, the veil, this could ultimately, in a way, relate to your mother too,
yeah.
because she's on the other side of the veil.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
And maybe seeing that that's the secret, that's what you need to know,
yeah.
that she's on the other side of the veil, but everything about her is in you.
Mm. Yeah, maybe.
She may not be on this side of the veil, but she's in you.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
do we need a final oracle card?
Oh, why not?
Sure. Let's do the damn thing. Oh, oh, look, he's bleeding out his eyeballs.
Yep.
And my attempt to keep it off the coffee table.
Nope.
Nope,
It's all right.
didn't work. It
It's
dried.
just wax.
Yeah, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
All right, final message. Final message. Mummy, change.
No pun intended, huh, Mummy?
No. On the bottom, skull of darkness, blind
Mm,
spots,
mm,
bringing the light to
yeah,
things. All right, I just want to read that main card real quick, the
yeah.
mummy. Um, there's so many things I
There it
can
is.
tie in with that. All right, so it says, the sand in his mouth, the bandages wound, jealous of the living, eternal life bound. The ancient Egyptians took death very seriously. Death was seen, not seen as many of us see it. Okay, that's misprint. A finality to be dreaded, but as just the beginning of a new life and often eternal life in a better place, the afterlife. The practice of honoring and preserving the body through a complex process of mummification was central to ancient Egyptian culture. This was not just a physical embalming process, but a carefully enacted ritual process that ensured preservation in the next world. Many other cultures also mummified their dead, including the Incas, the Argentinians, the Moray, and many of the cultures of the Torres Strait Islands. In our modern horror genre, the mummy has become an icon, from early horror writing at the turn of the century to the very popular films The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. The plot normally revolves, around the mummy returning to life and cursing and hunting down the living. The discovery of King Tutankhamun's tombs and other long hidden Egyptian treasures in the 1920s, in particular, sparked an explosion in mummy related movies and literatures. Should you pull the moaning mummy card from the deck, know that change is inevitable and that no matter how hard you try, things will not be preserved exactly the same way. The card also indicates that this change will be for the better. The endings, the closed doors, the barriers, this is just a healthy pause and an indication that a change of tactics is needed. You are not cursed. You have just developed a pattern. You can take control and change it.
Okay. Well, I'm always talking about patterns, so there
Yep.
we have it.
Yep.
All right.
And every reading we've done so far, all has involved patterns
Yeah.
and letting go of the past,
Yeah.
letting things go, and that it's scary, but it's not a bad thing.
All right.
It just allows for new things to come in. And kind of goes around with the new moon we just had, the full moon, rather.
Right.
Yeah. So the 27th, 28th was the energy. And of course, we're still within the energies of the full moon. Full moons are all about releasing.
All right.
So yeah, I think it's a pretty awesome. And I find it interesting that it seemed like last week's reading was more geared towards me,
Yeah.
and this one seems to be
A little more geared towards me. Yep.
right.
Yep. Yep. But I do think that that's my pattern, is to be an enabler, and then be frustrated with you for not changing when I'm enabling you to stay where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe last week's was my what keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
This is part 2.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Well,
all right, my love. Mm.
until next time, I'm Dr. Sunshine, the biker psychologist, saying keep growing until you're thriving.
And I am Foxglove the Witch.
I love you.
I love you.
One more.
Mwah.
Take care, everybody.